So Luka Nation, let's kick off our weekly StarStock episode. And you guys have been submitting a ton of questions, comments from StarStock. So we wanted to jump on here, share a little bit of news that's coming our way from them. We appreciate all the feedback first off, because, things have gone well. Some things have gone a little bit slow. But just so you guys know, their ingestion times, according to them, are 5x what they were in January. So that's huge. I know Cage is happy with that because he sent them, 44,000 cards himself?
Something like that.
But honestly, so I've been kind of browsing the StarStock website, and here's what I've seen. I don't know if you guys saw this. They now have a LeBron Topps Chrome PSA 10, Giannis PSA 10.
I saw the Giannis.
Kind of wax boxes on there. And it reminded me of the show The Office, when they have the art of the swap. Do you remember when Dwight comes in with Button and he wants to trade up? Well, think of StarStock the same way, right? If you understand what we're about to share with you guys here in the next hour, the data, which players undervalued, which players due for a bounce back week, and you start with $100, I want to hear some success stories. I want to hear how your $100 turned into, a box of wax, a blaster of Prism. I want to hear those stories because I think it's incredibly possible. So without further ado, welcome back to another episode of Lukas, Tigers, and Bronze. And I didn't even get to the best part. We've got Sam Conrad, Luka Nation Conrad, on with us, who does amazing data analysis. And he's going to present, a little bit of what he's found with the StarStock market today. And we're just going to chop it up with Gage after.
All right. So let's see. Oh, wait, it says host disabled participant screen sharing. So
you're not. Listen, we'll
get to it in a second, I promise.
While he's giving, listen, this is a rated R movie, man. So we have to have he's got to take the parental restrictions off for poor Sam here. So yeah, man. Listen, StarStock. While he's, I mean, Sam's got some great data, some slides he makes in the whole 9 yards, and we're going to share them with you as part of the episode, just to give extra bonus content into what we normally do for the StarStock episode. But I will tell you guys just an update, because I haven't given you this since the last episode. Every one of my cards is in. So all of the cards, the hundreds of cards that I've sent in, they're all in. And I'm running on average, I would say about 40% StarStock A. So I would have liked it to be a little higher than that, but that's about the average that I'm running, and I think that's pretty par for the course. Lower than that for the 2020 Prism Draft Basketball, which is exactly what Scott Greenberg told you last time he was on, basically telling you that, they found some surface problems on a lot of those cards, and that those were, skewing a little bit more towards B. So when you take those out, I'm probably close to about 50%, with StarStock A. So that's my little update, and we'll turn it over to.
Yeah, we'll turn over to Conrad, but I think of us, as kind of three separate traders, kind of Wall Street traders. And guys, before this episode, we don't hop on, we don't discuss the data with each other. So it's interesting, the findings and starting to see some of the parallels. I'm interested if, some of the things I've noticed with the market are going to jive with what Conrad's going to bring you guys here in the next few minutes. So I'm intrigued. I'm excited myself. Hope you guys enjoy this episode. And as always, give us feedback. If there's something you like, something you don't like, we're here.
All right, real quick before I get into it, I just want to make sure you guys can see the screen, just in case, obviously we put this on YouTube later.
Yes, we
guys can see it. All right, good enough. So I'll be dissecting the StarStock NBA Emerging 30 Index real quick for any of you that want to, find it yourself. What you're going to do is you're going to go on to StarStock, get obviously right here to the homepage. Just scroll down a little bit, and right here, NBA Emerging 30. Whoops, hang on. Where'd it go? All right, there we go. A little bit further down, NBA Emerging 30. You click View the Index, and all of a sudden, once it loads up, you'll get all the data that you're going to need, right? And so what I'm going to be doing is once a week, look through it, decide, who do I want to talk about, who's seen some massive increases for certain reasons, who's decreased. Just talk a little bit about what I'm seeing, what I'm thinking overall. So, here's some of the stuff that I talked about. So first of all, DeAndre Ayton finally gets a bit of a correction, right? We saw, obviously just a massive increase in demand after the Chris Paul trade went through. Chris Paul has commonly made his big men better, mainly because he's so dangerous in the pick and roll. But I mean, just in general, he's so helpful, helping them set screens and stuff like that, giving them more opportunities. He's so dangerous, and he attracts a lot of the defenders. So he obviously makes his big man's job easier, right? However, the Ayton and Chris Paul duo that we were hoping to see, we never really saw formed, or at least we haven't seen it yet. They haven't quite been coexisting as well as we would like to see, at least as of right now. But the Phoenix Suns are still playing exceptionally well. I think they're about the 4th seed in the Western Conference right now, and the Western Conference is loaded. So that's very impressive to see. Devin Booker might finally be on a playoff team, which is always nice to hear. But DeAndre Ayton just jumped up 29.21% since the last time the index was updated on February 22nd. It was updated on March 1st. I think that he's obviously he's had a good solid streak of games, at least in comparison to before, and people are kind of finally realizing that this Phoenix Suns team is actually legit. It wasn't just a hot streak, right, when they first started out in the season. Yep. So I think people are starting to buy up Ayton, Booker, and Chris Paul because they're all getting ready for the playoff series, and they're going to get ready to potentially sell some of these guys if they tend to have a good series, right? Next up, we have the Duke.
Real quick, if I could jump in here, because I'm excited for RJ Barrett, but I'm curious to hear Cage's take. Cage, centers in the hobby, are they getting more love recently? Do you think with StarStock, maybe it gives people a way to play centers, even though notoriously they don't get enough love in the hobby?
Listen, if I have one goal for 2021, it's to bring the love for the big man back to the hobby. This is near and dear to my heart, right? Because if you don't love the big man, what am I here for?
You're not a big man. You're 6'2".
What am I here for?
You're not a big man.
I'm a big man in the hobby. And don't you try to say otherwise. No, but I mean, listen, so the pendulum swings. We've talked about this a bunch of times. I love Ayton, and I love to see, he's, he getting a little bit of love, but I think it's mostly because, Booker is already so high priced and people are playing Ayton as more of a value play. Not that they specifically love, not that they love Ayton so much. It's just that Booker has already, had that hobby love. I mean, Gary Vee talked about Booker for crying out loud, you're not going to get him in a bargain, whereas Ayton you can. I think there's a little bit more of that in play than, okay, we're finally embracing the big man.
I love it. And if I saw next, you've got RJ Barrett, man. What a surprise the Knicks have been. What a pleasant
real
surprise.
Quick, because this is a guy related to RJ Barrett, and he's also related to Ayton because he also recently experienced a bit of a correction, especially after some very impressive performances. And that man is Zion Williamson right here. Jumped up 19.6% since last time. He was on a bit of a downswing after a bit of a rough year. It was an original correction back on February 15th. As you'll see, prices were around $500 and then they dropped to $275. And that was a correction that was needed. I'm not even going to lie to you guys. The Pelicans were playing horribly, even though Zion himself wasn't terrible. The team was just disappointing. But now they're actually kind of contending for a playoff spot. Zion is looking insane. He's having a Shaq-like season as far as dominance in the paint goes, and he's finally experiencing a bit of a recorrection once again, and is sitting right around $300. Just wanted to mention that. But his former teammate at Duke and a top 3 pick overall in the 2019 NBA draft was RJ Barrett, and the Knicks are absolutely killing it. They're currently the 4th seed in the Eastern Conference, which is quite insane. And yes, a lot of that can be credited to Julius Randle. He's having a ridiculous season, all-star level player. Just unbelievable, right? But we've also have to acknowledge the fact that RJ Barrett is actually stepping it up a bit as well, doing a little bit of everything, rebounding, passing, scoring. He's still not an excellent shooter, but it is much better than I think a lot of people expected coming into the season. However, more specifically, I think the reason for this recent jump up from $36.71 to $42.50 on March 1st, I think it was because of the Knicks' past 5 games. In the past 5 games, they went 4-1, which I think took them from like 8th or 7th seed to the 4th seed in the Eastern Conference, right, which is near contenders level. And during that 5-game series or 5-game span, RJ scored more than 20 points in 3 of those games on crazy good efficiency, right? And that's something that people are going to take notice of, especially when you're a top 3 pick, and especially when it's only your 2nd year in the league, and especially when you're on a traditionally terrible team in the New York Knicks in a big market, and all of a sudden you're exceeding everyone's expectations. So he's been playing well. I think that
we're early. But what if this happens in the playoffs?
But I think this is much deserved.
Your Wi-Fi, guys, Conrad's recording from the dungeon. His Wi-Fi is as good as mine was at my first place in Mexico, but that's okay. Knicks Nets. What if the Knicks play the Nets in the first round of the playoffs? How exciting would that be? And that's entirely possible. I predict the Nets are a 2 seed. Knicks are going to get that 7 seed. That's going to be an amazing first round matchup. I'm buying some Knicks guys, and I think RJ Barrett is maybe the most underrated value right now on the market. Cage, you want to take as a New Yorker?
Wow, I can't wait for that series. I want to see Emmanuel quickly steal Kevin Durant's lunch. No, I mean, listen,
Durant
it would be
doesn't
cool.
eat lunch. Joke on you.
Are you trying to make it like a skinny joke? Like, because he's like bony? Is he like trying to?
You picked up
Why
what I'm
doesn't he
putting
eat
down. Wow, you're
Yeah,
smart.
Yeah, I'm okay. I don't know, man. I don't think the Knicks have a chance to do anything. I think it's hilarious that that we all celebrate like, we're going to have a parade down Canyon of Heroes here in New York when the Knicks get over 500. It just goes to show you that if they ever were a quality team, what kind of rabid fan base it is. And I think that alone is a reason why I can completely get behind Conrad's, RJ Barrett pick. You've been talking about RJ Barrett, whether it's, Toppin when he finally gets to actually play, whether it's Emmanuel Quickly's first, Prism card. These big markets, they have big fan bases, and you have to take that into account and add that to this. The stats alone for some small market teams is what drives the price. Here you get stats, and remember, it comes down to supply and demand. And when the Knicks are playing well, the NBA usually does well, and there's much more demand for those Knicks players. I mean, what was the last Knicks rookie? What was the last Knicks player that generated card demand? Jeremy Lin? I mean, seriously, who was it then?
Him, it was very small span.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure how much of an impact he would have had, right?
Yep.
So, I mean, yeah, I agree. I mean, I agree with both of you, right? I don't think that the Knicks have a chance whatsoever in a series against the Nets. However, there's going to be some competition there for sure, not just because it's New York versus New York, but mainly because I think it's going to be OG Knicks fans that have been suffering for many, many years versus the Nets that just got they got KD and Kyrie last year and they just got Harden. So there's going to be a lot of bandwagon Nets fans, and I think it's kind of going to be that fan-on-fan rivalry of loyalty versus bandwagoning, and that could definitely take shape in a playoff matchup for sure. How much does that impact the card market? I really have no idea because I don't think we've really seen anything quite like that. We were hoping for the Battle of LA this year, but that never happened after a 3-1 comeback from the Nuggets in the second round against the Clippers. So I guess this could be our first taste of it if we get to see the Knicks versus the Nets in a series. But I agree with both of you for those reasons that I just mentioned. Now, moving on, I guess, we're going to move on to the more negative side of the index, right? So Boston has been a bit disappointing. While the Knicks have been exceeding expectations, Boston, on the other hand, has not. The Celtics have typically been one of the best teams in the entire league, but this year they're just really struggling. And I think one of the reasons, obviously, for that is just their lack of depth. They've always, just like they've pretty much always been one of the better teams in the league. They've always had, or not always, but they typically do have one of the weakest benches in the entire league as well. And they just recently lost Marcus Smart, I want to say a couple of weeks ago. And since they lost him from injury, as soon as he got injured, they started playing horribly. And they are currently sitting as the 6th seed in the Eastern Conference, which is nothing like what we're usually seeing from the Boston Celtics. However, while Tatum's prices have dropped because of this 16.4% drop since last week, I think that his cards might be a buy. And here's why. Because Marcus Smart will be coming back, I believe, after the All-Star break, they said. And their bench is a little bit better this year than it has been in years past. Robert Williams is really stepping it up. He's getting some starter minutes, some not, right? Him and Daniel Tice have kind of been in and out, and Tristan Thompson has at times been as well. Peyton Pritchard has been absolutely unbelievable in his rookie season. He's had many great moments, kind of that sort of Tyler Hero guy that we saw last year that was scoring the ball, lighting up the scoreboard, and everyone was getting excited to watch him. And they have Marcus Smart, who is their glue guy, does all the dirty work, steals, being that pest on the defensive side of the ball that just gets in your grill and won't let you go. And they need that on this team, right? He's kind of like that final piece of the puzzle that puts it all together for them. And when he comes back, I think this team is going to be in a much better situation, and people are going to realize, hey, Tatum is worth these prices. I think the Celtics are still a legitimate contender. As long as, nobody gets injured or sick, that's going to be the biggest question mark for a lot of people. But I think that at this price point, Tatum might be a buy because even if this year doesn't work out, you can maybe hold it long term. He's a good player for sure. If you guys have anything you want to mention, go right ahead.
Someone asked us just a few days ago about Tatum, whether he's a buy or not. I feel like this year is pretty obvious. Like the writing's written on the wall. And I think the Celtics are going to be knocked out in the first. If they're lucky with a first round matchup, they're going to get to a second round. I think Tatum is an amazing offseason buy. I think his cards are going to keep dropping, and they're going to hit a floor in the offseason. That's a much more attractive entry point into Tatum because his cards aren't volatile enough.
Sam is our NBA expert, which is amazing to say, right? Because he's in high school, but nobody dissects the stats, the plays like he does, right? So let me throw something out there, right? Because I love that Tatum might be a buy, and I love Andrew's play that he's going to have an unceremonious exit from the playoffs. And this is a guy who was slated to be top player on a top team in the East with long playoff runs, and he was a buy. Can I ask, and I guess I'll throw it out to both of you. I mean, Andrew, you're no slouch with basketball either. Why Tatum? Yeah. And what has Tatum done? Seriously, what has he accomplished? Why is Tatum? Why is he that rung below the elite in the NBA? Because honestly, and maybe it's New York, Boston bias, I don't see it. I mean, I don't see him carrying a team. What I see is him being the clear-cut number one going into the season, leader of the team, and yet I think many people who watch basketball would say that he was passed by his own teammate Jaylen Brown in for that alpha role of the team this year. So why is it Tatum? Why should I be chasing Tatum? Why should I put him in the same category as a Zion or a Giannis or LeBron or next big thing level? Let's go Conrad and then Andrew.
You shouldn't. Okay. But his cards are a fraction of Zion's cards. And
not really. Not really. His StarStock A is like is 3 and change, and I mean it's right in the same wheelhouse really as Zion's Prism. I know there's less of the Tatum Prism, right? So there's obviously more supply of Zion, but there's not a huge discrepancy in those pricing.
I think what Tatum has going for him is a big market with a passionate fan base, a consistent winner. They're a consistent 2, 3, or 4 seed, and they're one piece away from really contending in the East. I wouldn't say it's Tatum's fault. His game is a little bit limited because he's not a playmaker, but I don't think he's the issue on the Celtics. If they had a slightly better point guard or a slightly better off kind of a power forward center, I don't know why they got Tristan Thompson.
If they had completed the trade that was on the table to land Miles Turner, which I was saying that they should. I'm a Pacers fan, which I was saying that they should when that deal was on the table, and they didn't take it. I knew that they made a mistake, and that was before Miles Turner was averaging 3.5 blocks per game, right? They needed that interior defender in Miles Turner. If they have someone like that on their team, this team is going to be dangerous because their starting five would just be elite. I think that is obviously the biggest issue, and honestly, Kemba has as well. Something I want to throw out there, though, that Andrew just mentioned was that he's been a consistent winner, at least his teams have. When he was drafted, it was because of a pick that they got in, I think, the Brooklyn Nets trade, right, for Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett a while back. And they landed him as third overall. At that time, they were still borderline contenders with Kyrie Irving and Al Horford and that whole group. He's been on a contending team or a near contending team his entire career, and he's always played well, no matter what the situation.
I'm sensing a big but. But has he won anything?
I was about to say, that's just it. They haven't seen a ton of success in the postseason, right? Like that's the biggest question. But I mean, then again, has Luka, has Zion? I mean, he's only 1 year older than Luka is, right? He's only 1 year older than Trey. He's only 1 year older than Jaren Jackson Jr., 1 year older than DeAndre Ayton. You look at other guys, Donovan Mitchell, Bam Adebayo, but I mean, those guys, they're on a different level than he is, right? He's a bit higher than they are.
When I get out ahead of myself on somebody like Tatum,
polarizing prospect as far as cards go.
I like him. You know what brings me back to agreeing with you both that he is still a good place to put money. I'm 99% sure that my favorite guy, Devontae Graham, is older than him. You can't forget that.
He's 22.
He's still 22. Very young. Mm-hmm. He's still very young. So, he left college early. He's got a lot of experience under him. He's still growing. He's still going to get better. So, one of the biggest things there is, you're right. He's always going to be on a contending team. And if they do make the right move, they'll put him in a position to really play meaningful playoff games. And he's still getting better. So,
yeah, he's a younger Devin Booker, in my opinion.
I disagree. Well, what do you mean by that? Do you mean by play style and leadership?
Play style, just beautiful offensive game. Just a beautiful offensive game. He could get his buckets. He's just a very, very. He's a top 10 offensive.
Much better defender though. Much better defender though that Devin Booker was. I think the biggest comparison is Paul George. I think that's like Paul George.
Get your Paul George out of here, man. Paul George is the most overrated player in the entire National Basketball
I disagree.
Association.
I heavily disagree. I think it's Ben Simmons personally, and I've been preaching that for a while. At least his development is extremely overrated. Ben Simmons has had
On offense.
On both sides of the ball. His defense is elite, defensive player of the year worthy, right? But like people act like he's become a much better player. Sure, maybe like defensively he has been a bit. But like if you look, like he literally has made very little progression, passing, rebounding, scoring, efficiency, any of that. Like I don't understand it. But that could be a whole other debate for like a whole other episode or talk or anything like that. We can move on to the next guy or the last guy that at least I'm going to cover specifically in the slide. Actually, real quick, one thing I did want to mention. I mentioned Tatum could be a buy. One thing to note, literally the last sentence, and he could make a pretty good investment right now, even though it is a bit risky. You can't ignore the fact that they are currently a 6th seed and things could get worse for them. One injury, one guy getting sick, and it's all out the table. If you're willing to take a bit of a risk, this is bit of a high risk, high potential play. Because if they do become like a 3rd seed by the time the playoffs roll around, people are going to really start buying his cards because they're just going to look at the numbers and say, oh, they're the 3rd seed. They could potentially make a deep run, even though that may not actually be the reality of the situation. And you could sell for some pretty nice profits before then. Just
one thing to note is Danny Ainge always makes trade deadline deals, and the trade deadline's March 25th. And Danny Ainge has always been active at the trade deadline.
And just I hope they make a move for a better center than what they've got now, right? I mean, Robert Williams has actually been pretty good. I can't really complain.
SGA.
Last guy, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He shows the importance of winning. The Thunder were definitely expected to be one of the worst teams in the entire league this season. They kind of have matched that, although I think they're like the 12th seed, 13th or 14th or 11th, like not really quite as bad as we've expected, although they're
Absolutely.
not, a playoff team, right? But Shai has been playing at an near all-star caliber level. He's been playing out of his mind, absolutely career year. Some of that can be obviously credited to the fact that he is the number 1 option now. And he recently just dropped 42 points, I want to say only a couple of days ago. However, his prices continue to dip. They're reaching all-time lows at this point. And I understand that in the short term, his cards are probably not a buy. But if you are looking to get into Shai Gilgeous-Alexander in the long term, which you most certainly should, because this Thunder team is going to be very good. They have 17 first-round picks, I believe, in the next 8 years. And that they don't have to draft. They don't have to draft all of those guys. They can use those picks to trade for a star or a superstar if they need to win now. This team is going to be good. In 5 years, it could be 10 years. I don't know how long it takes, but overall, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander should be a guy that you're looking at in the long term. And if his prices are reaching all-time lows, I don't think that there's not any other guy, but I don't think that there's a lot of guys that are a better buying opportunity in the modern market than Shai right now.
Okay, so I have to pause you. We're going to get to the StarStock data in a second, but we're going to close you out with this. Yep. I need an SGA back and forth between the two experts here. Basketball, I'm learning it. I'm a baseball guy, and I can hold my own in basketball, but not with you two guys. And I will tell you, Sam, you it's like kicking a hornet's nest. So Andrew convinced me to sell my my SGA, and his theory. And I want to hear a little back and forth on you because you say he's hitting lows, and normally that's good. A star like that with that kind of future for that team, But Andrew has a theory, and I don't know whether it's ever been completely spelled out, other than it's just something about him, right? He calls SGA dead money, right? Because it just it's not going to improve, and if it does, maybe it goes up a little bit. Go ahead, please.
Okay, because I don't want the audience to get a poor representation of me. That was not.
Well, then you represent yourself.
You painted me with a broad brush there. I like SGA a lot. What I said was it doesn't seem like there's premium buyers for his cards. So the reason why cards move up and down in value is because people with money come in and say, dude, I'm going to take a bet on SGA. That happens few and far between. So that's why you see like his Prism PSA 10 silver. That card's been between $800 and $1,100 for the entire duration. When the market was booming and people were super high on SGA, it was at that price. And when people were low, it's probably dipping a little bit below that now. So there's just not a lot of institutional money, as I say, behind SGA. As a player, I would love SGA on my team. In the hobby, it doesn't seem like there's as much demand for him as the other young guys from that draft class. Even Trey, who I think is a worse player.
I actually agree with that statement. I think that Trey is a bit overrated. That once again, that's a whole other discussion. Real quick, before I not necessarily an argument, but before I counter attack that, whatever you want to say.
Guys, so
what
this
are your thoughts on
transition
Donovan Mitchell? Not just because of this year, traditionally.
So
like
Cage
not just
will give
this
his
year,
thoughts on
like in the past as well, if you've had it.
On D-Mitch. Guys, the transition to Miami has been not the easiest for the trio of us. We're gonna get Conrad much better high-speed internet in his penthouse. He's already has 4 pools, but he doesn't have high-speed internet there.
Sure.
It's just the decision. It just happened this week.
He
So
brought his
just
talent
bear
to
with
South
us.
Beach, but he left his wireless internet behind.
Yeah, exactly.
He left his router.
Yeah.
He left his router behind. We can talk about Donovan Mitchell. No, but give me 30 seconds on why SGA's talent on the hardwood will translate into viability from a what I call cardboard relevance. Because I think that's the difference. He's a hell of a player. Is it because people don't need to look at Oklahoma City now that they know they'll be good in 2 years and they don't have to put their money there now? I mean, is that what it is?
There's a lot of factors. And that's not just it. He was started out as just like a three-point shooter, basically on the Los Angeles Clippers. Was traded to the Thunder, played very well under Chris Paul, and now he's really stepping up as a number 1 option. I think that a lot of people think that, this guy's really improving, he's really good. But then there's like another 30% of people, or 50% of people, or 40% of people that are like, I don't know if this is legitimate. I don't know if we can count on him to produce like this night in, night out, especially if he has all these other pieces with him, especially if he's on a better team, especially if he's blah 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 blah. Right. In my opinion, he still has time to improve. He's very young, was just drafted 2 years ago or 3 years ago, I don't really know the complete time span in the 2018 draft, right? He's still very young. He's still a bit raw. He could use a bit of work as well. I think that I also think that it is a bit of that short-term versus long-term perspective. A lot of people aren't really looking to invest for the next 5 to 7 years, right? Not necessarily that, but especially with Shea, because he's not quite like superstar level yet. And this team has to go through a rebuild. People aren't willing to hold it in case, mistakes are made, in case it takes longer than expected or anything like that. I just think that there's a lot of questions surrounding him, this Thunder team, and I think maybe it takes one more season of the same type of production from him and some improvements being made to their overall roster around him as far as, a rebuild goes, for people to really start to commit, for more institutional money, as Goldberg said, as Andrew said, whatever you want me to call you, come into the hobby and to be spent on SGA's cards. At least that's my opinion.
I'm putting my money on Dort. It's Dort.
Honestly,
or it's nothing for me.
Honestly, I kind of like the guy. I'm not saying he's like a star by any means, but you never know. The guy's a hard-ass worker for sure, and he's built like a truck. I mean, you never know. If he can develop his offensive game a little bit, maybe he's a solid second or third option in the future. I highly doubt it.
And Andrew's Bubble Baisley. That's the new trio. You could be SGA, I'll be Dort, and he could be Bubble Baisley. It's nice. We'll take it. Let's go.
All right, brother. I know you got to jump balls. I appreciate you doing this analysis with us. I know Luka Nation's gonna love us. I love this segment. Dort is like investing in the egg. That's how I see it.
Oh my gosh.
He's like an Alex Caruso.
I love Dort. Come on, man. Dort's the best.
I love Dort.
Thanks, I like the guy too a lot. I mean, just as a person, even as a player, he's hilarious.
He's your best friend. He's your pal.
Yeah, totally. We talk every day. Yeah.
Rips is taking Giannis to the prom. Conrad's taking Dort.
Of course,
man.
You see that,
bring Miles Turner. He's got the Miles Turner.
Oh no, that's true. Miles Turner. Who says I can't bring both? I mean, right? Yeah. All right, I gotta go. Hopefully, next time that we talk, I have better internet. I don't know what happened today, but
I'll talk to Pat Riley. He's not gonna be happy.
Yeah.
See you later. Thanks, Conrad.
Take care. Let me stop sharing and head out.
Cage. So
there he is.
Lots to talk about. Where do you want to go with this? Because I think what's exciting about StarStock is not necessarily, what's been going on with the NBA index now. I think the preparation they've done, being able to handle more ingestion, having a much better inventory on their platform. Think about this, Cage. What is it? Opening pitch, opening day? What do they call it in baseball? It's 1 month away.
1 month away.
NBA playoffs are 1 month away.
Yep.
And starting May, June is NFL and free agency and players moving and things like that.
Listen, it's crazy what's going on. Really is. It's crazy what's going on. And StarStock is on all of it, right? I mean, like I loaded up a bunch of cards. I didn't even realize I had this Julio Rodriguez Bowman Chrome, the first Bowman Chrome in there, just a base, not a refractor, anything crazy. And it loaded up was a StarStock A. And I put it in, I undercut whoever the cheapest one person was by $1. And I got an offer like $30-something for a base card. I mean, I'm like, let's go. Base people are already looking to buy money. But can I give you some credit? And I'll give, Sam some credit also. It's an interesting thing, right? So we're going to focus on StarStock, but I'm in Top Shot, right? And I put my money in, and what I do is I buy some low level stuff and I sell it, and I sell enough low level stuff to try to consolidate. And we talk about it as a flight to quality and try to buy some Series 1 of some star guys, some Luka, some Zion, some LeBron, the top stuff, the best stuff, right? So what I've done in StarStock, it follows the same pattern, right? And I'm going to give you credit in a second because I didn't know what I was going to do with that until right now. So I've been selling my cards. I've been selling my cards for $1 here, $2 there, Kevin Porter Jr. for $7, StarStock Bs for nickels. As long as it's more than a nickel, that's fine because StarStock takes their nickel. But,
I'll give you a nickel to tickle my pickle. Did you guys ever do that in high school? That was like a fun little game.
Did that ever work for you?
No, it was a joke.
I am appalled, and to whatever high school girls fell for this guy's tickle his pickle routine, I apologize to you all profusely.
It was just like an internet trend before an internet trend happened. It was like one day in high school, everyone would like go around and like make a joke.
Tickling. So in your high school, they went around tickling each other's pickles. Was this a
that
locker
middle
room
school
thing?
I don't know. Let's keep rocking. So
you
sold all of these.
The soccer coach should be fired. So
he has been.
So I sold. See that now we know why. So I sold all these cards. I sold a bunch of cards, and I built up a nice war chest of money in my StarStock account, right? And it's legit. It was stuff that I was not going to ever put up on eBay. It was lucky for me, there was a couple of Malik Monks in there. I timed that one pretty good, right? But Dwayne Bacon, and they open up enough boxes of the optic. Ones with the red, blue, and yellow, and there's Thomas Bryant and guys that are they're okay, but you take 50 cents, you take $1 for the Bs and whatever else, and it adds up. And you know what I just did with it? I just put an offer on a Tatum.
No, go Zion.
Yeah. I put an offer on Zion. I put an offer on an SGA. I did.
Yeah, but what if they're accepted simultaneously?
I put in offers where I had enough money to make offers on all of them. So all good, no worries. So we're rocking and rolling, and it's the same thing as everything else, right? You sell your smaller stuff, consolidate, build up that bankroll, and try to get into something real nice. You do it on StarStock, do it anywhere. And now what I'm making offers are StarStock A, because I know from personal experience that those A's are going to be legitimately good cards. Because I know somebody's over there looking at them and telling me my cards are crap.
Absolutely.
And let me take it a step further. I think StarStock A's, people have been posting, tiles and stuff all over Instagram. People posting this is the rebirth of PSA 9. This is the second coming of PSA 9 because PSA just smacked us all in the face with what was it? Your tickled pickle? They took out Andrew's tickled pickle and smacked you in the face with it with their new pricing, right? And they told you basically stop grading your cards. Okay, they said we don't want your cards anymore. The hell with you. We got enough money. We got our boy Nat over here with the bankroll. He doesn't need your money. Just keep your cards. So everyone's like, PSA 9s. I mean, no one's going to be spending thousands of dollars. The great PSA 9s are going to go to the moon. To the moon. You know what's really going to go to the moon? StarStock A. Because you can send your raw cards in and they get A's. That's going to be the PSA 10 that you don't have to wait for. It's going to be the PSA 10 that you don't have to pay $100 to get a PSA 10 for. And it's going to be the new liquid PSA 10. So I think you're going to see an increase in the StarStock A prices, to be honest. I mean, and I'm looking at those StarStock A's as the things that are going to get flipped instead of PSA 10s. Because, look, Prism Basketball is going to come out, right? And besides LaMelo and maybe Halliburton and Edwards, there are going to be some good rookies in that class, people who you would have bought in years past and tried to flip and grade. I mean, look at all the rookies who were in last year's class. Half the people who had Tyler Hero PSA 10s at the time when he was actually making that playoff run were people who took a gamble on a lower end card and sent it to PSA because it wasn't too expensive. It wasn't cost prohibitive. This year's Tyler Hero, who knows who it's going to be?
Maybe it's Onyeki Okongwu. Maybe it's Denny Avdija. Who knows who it's going to be, right? But you open up a Prism pack, and you have to think long and hard about whether or not you're going to grade those guys. So I'm not going to grade them. I'm going to send them right to StarStock. And they're going to have them in, and it's going to get StarStock A, and I'm going to have that available to flip when those playoff runs come. So that's, to me, gonna be one of the many impacts of this new PSA pricing.
It's an unbelievable take. I would go back and listen to it again, guys, because think about it. Like, you would not grade a Prism Prism rookie Tyler Hero card right now. It's just not financially feasible. You're losing money if it gets a PSA 9, and if you're maybe making a few $50 if it's a PSA 10. You can't afford that, and it's going to come back 6 months later. I'm excited. And Cage, you did this with Top Shot. You were a little bit early to Top Shot than the wave of people. And you made all of your money on the marketplace. Well, StarStock has a marketplace. And when you had that pool of money and it was in flight to quality and some really good assets, you were way more dangerous. You were able to make bigger plays when the new wave of people came in. I think that's going to happen. I think whether you believe in StarStock, for the next 5 years, I believe in them for the next 12 months. And I think April, May, June are going to be some of the busiest months on the platform. That's just
because you're going to have it. People are going to open Prism. No, this is PSA. No one's going to say I'm not buying Prism anymore because of PSA, right? They're going to get breaks. The breaks are going to happen. People are going to buy. It's going to get sold out, right? But once people have those cards in their hands, right, they've broken the product. People are going to have a decision to make, and it's going to be, what do I do with these cards? And there's going to be a threshold. There's going to be guys who last week you would have sent into PSA. But this week with their new pricing, you won't. So what are you going to do with them? Are you going to put them on eBay raw? Right? You're going to put them on eBay and worry about, returns and logistics and shipping and all that stuff? Or are you going to send them to StarStock? What are you going to do with the cards? And I have a feeling that more people are going to choose StarStock, and that StarStock A provides some level between raw and PSA 10 that becomes, I think, the new liquid, trading, card,
baseball,
whatever you want to call it. But baseball. Go for it.
Let's talk a little bit about baseball. So I'll go through some of this data as we go through it. But just off the top of your head, are there some teams, again, you have Bo Bichette, you have Fernando Tatis, and now you have Ronald Acuna in the top 5 players by sales value in the last week.
Right. So there's your trend, right? People are asleep on basketball because it's in that dog days of summer heading towards the All-Star break. And, and people aren't really gearing up for it yet. But baseball's around the corner. And what do you have? You have people making their plays in baseball, buying now, knowing that there's going to be a run-up. I bet you half those people who bought those Bichettes, Acunas, and whatnot are looking to actually sell them in 2 weeks or 3 weeks before the season even starts. So,
I love that.
This is the time.
So is that the play? Is that the play, right now, being guys that are going to get hype? Sell them right before opening day and wait to see. Because, in baseball, what's exciting is you don't know who's going to have an amazing April and May. That's the cool thing, right? It could be Vlad Guerrero Jr. It could be. And here everyone's looking at Tatis. He comes out slumping. Vlad Guerrero comes out, 10 home runs in the first 2 months. You've seen crazier things.
No, so here's the great part about the data that we're giving you, right? So Andrew just told you that in the top 5 sales, it's Bichette, it's Tatis, and it is Acuna. So what I would do is I would realize that there's already been a small run-up on those guys, because that's where people are focusing their money right now. And I would look at the names that are akin to those and or just one spot below them. So you're talking about Soto, obviously, is the same, if not better than all of them, right?
Yeah.
You're talking about Lewis from the White Sox. You're talking about maybe a Gleyber Torres. You're talking about a Bellinger, if you want to go a year further back. You're talking about those young guys, and people just haven't jumped on them yet because they're maybe that one notch below the names that you just mentioned. But what I would be doing is I'd be buying a little bit of all of them. I'd be buying StarStock A rookies, Topps Chrome rookies, Topps Chrome Update rookies, of all of them, a couple of them here, there, you name it. I'd be buying like a mutual fund, like you talk about, 1, 2 of each one of them, and literally I would be selling them the week before opening day. That's it. No real risk, no injury risk. Hopefully, they're
no return risk.
So, yeah,
no
but
return
you
risk.
don't have any of that logistic problem. You don't have any of that stuff at all. 100%.
I love it. Cage, Any final words from the big man? Any words of wisdom? You've had a successful year in sports cards. You've had a successful year in NFTs. You've had a successful year in vintage cards. I know it's a StarStock episode, but if you could put on the Yoda hat that you always wear around the house when we're not recording, give some people one or two pieces of advice.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we've said this a couple of times, right? Look at who has been on the worst performer list and buy them next week, right? And we talked about how Zion was down, and now Zion is up. We talked about how Colin Sexton was down a little, and now Colin Sexton is up. So let's pick a number for you guys. We'll pick a player for you guys who's on that worst performing list. For whatever reason, Darius Baisley is down a third from last week, right? So there might be some bargains in Darius Baisley. That's number one as far as the numbers that we're giving you guys.
I'm gonna be sick saying this, but Lonzo's been playing incredibly well, and he's
Lonzo
on the worst
Ball
performer.
is also on the worst performer. And I know you hate, but he's potentially a bargain, especially if Zion. If people buy Zion for him to have meaningful games, then guess what? Lonzo's gonna be playing those meaningful games right along with him. So, it's definitely to do. So my Yoda hat. Here's one for you. It's a hot take, right?
Oh no. Look out.
I hate when people say, buy what you love. Buy what you love, because don't worry about it. When it goes to $0, you're still going to love what you have, right? Look, buy the pretty cards. Buy the cards you like to look at. Buy what you love. Can I change that for you guys? And let me tell you, buy what you think is going to make you some money. And then use that money to buy what you love after that. Okay?
Boom.
And we're giving you, I think, some ways to make some money here. You can always get the stuff you love, right? Buy what you think is going to make you some money. Because if you're like me, you love money. That's it, man. There's my little bit of Yoda wisdom for you guys. We love the StarStock stuff. If anybody has any questions, we got a couple groups for it. You can join the groups and send us some messages. Use this data, guys. That Lonzo Ball. I cannot believe Andrew actually just admitted to that. I can't. He's so anti Lonzo Ball, but guys, we're in a data age. We're in a numbers age, and if Lonzo Ball's down 30% from last week, I'll bet you we see him up 15 or 20% next week, because that's just the way it's been every week we've done this episode. So look for some Lonzo Ball bargains on StarStock, folks.
Changing your mind is a strength in investing, I think.
I like it. All right, guys. Thank you.
Hope you enjoyed this episode. We'll be bringing more of these to you guys. Conrad does an amazing job crunching the numbers, analyzing the data, and then we come in and we layer on some of this qualitative analysis with the big fella. Hope you enjoyed it. We apologize for some technical difficulties. Bear with us. We're doing big things here, all just to help you guys share content, add value, educate, entertain. We're out.